Nope. No. Not true. No. We are going to run through the National Association of Realtors settlement to actually show you the real changes proposed to buying and selling a home. And pay close attention because number 6 in the settlement agreement, even the NAR is getting wrong in their interpretation. And stick around to the end because just like any cure for what ails you, there are going to be some side effects to this one. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We've been helping the smartest buyers and sellers make the best data-driven decisions in this crazy market. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. All right, let's take a quick run through the NAR Settlement Agreement. Page 27 is where we actually start the practice changes out of 108 pages. So let's dive in and see what actually is being offered by the NAR and, of course, still needs to be accepted by the judge. So the first things first, it mentions paragraph 30. It'll go into place. That's 120 days after this was submitted, so that puts us around July. So we can expect, if this is accepted, that in July we'll start to see the changes stipulated here. Number 1, eliminate and prohibit any requirement that listing of brokers or sellers must make offers of compensation to buyer brokers, and eliminate or prohibit any requirement that such offers, if made, must be blanket, unconditional, or unilateral. So what this means is that it can't be required that sellers pay a commission to the buyer's agent. That cannot be a requirement to take a listing. And if they do offer it, it can't be blanket or unconditional or unilateral, which means that if they do offer it, that it doesn't need to be the same to every possible agent out there. Unfortunately, what this opens up is the possibility of discrimination. A seller could say, hey, we'll pay certain people, certain types of agents if they bring buyers, but we won't pay others. And that's unfortunate that it leads to that potential conclusion. Number 2, prohibit the offering of compensation on the multiple listing service, on the MLS, to buyer brokers or listing a total broker compensation. So essentially won't be able to mention compensation at all on the MLS to any agents. That will be completely removed from the multiple listing service. 3 is redundant, but it says that the MLS will eliminate broker compensation fields on the MLS. So you can't put it in if you don't have a place to put it. And you can't put in there sharing of compensation to buyer brokers, and you're not allowed to put it in any other field on the MLS. So it's not like you could just write it in the special agent notes section. Nowhere in the MLS can there be an offer of compensation to a buyer broker. Number 4, eliminate any requirements to be a member of an MLS in order to offer, accept compensation to buyer brokers or buyer representatives. So this does not, and we will see this reinforced, this does not eliminate the possibility of a seller offering compensation to a buyer broker. The seller can offer that, but can't put it in the MLS. If a seller offers it, what 4 says is that it isn't the case that you must be a member of a MLS in order to receive that compensation. Number 5, the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is not allowed to create another website that's non-MLS that shows buyer broker commissions. But what's important to see here is that if it is a brokerage, they are allowed to use an MLS data feed to create a website that shows the commission on their own brokerage. As long as it doesn't include commissions from other brokerages, that is okay. Number 6 is a big one, and this is buyer written agreements. An MLS participant working with a buyer must have a written agreement before a buyer tours the home, and there's certain requirements in that written agreement. There's an important word missing from this section, and I haven't seen anybody else mention it, and that word is agency. And what I mean by that is a buyer written agreement. Normally, we assume as real estate agents that you'd enter into a buyer agency agreement where if you're showing properties and doing tours, that you are the agent of the buyer. But that actually isn't what's in here. That's not required that it be an agency relationship set up. A written agreement to show a property, you could still be just an agent for a seller, a different party. That's what's interesting in here. It's implied, of course, because it's from the National Association of Realtors, but it isn't specifically mentioned. What is specifically mentioned is that what is in the written agreement, again, not the buyer agency written agreement, but what's in the agreement is that it specifies, discloses conspicuously the amount or rate of compensation and how this amount will be determined. So is it going to be a fixed number or is it going to be a percentage? It can't be open-ended. It can't say whatever amount the seller is offering to the buyer. It can't be open like that. It has to be a specific and definitive rate that can be determined. The realtor or participant may not receive compensation for brokerage services from any source that exceeds the amount or rate agreed to in the agreement with the buyer. So if the agreement says that they're going to be paid $10,000 by the buyer, for example, and the seller is offering $15,000, that buyer's agent or that agent theoretically cannot accept that $15,000. Racing through now. Number 7, MLS participants cannot say that their brokerage services are free or no cost. Number 8 is related listing agents. Remember we said there was an agency in buyer written agreements. Here it says acting for sellers. And what that is that's agency. So very interesting that we see agency referenced here and didn't see it under buyers. Agents acting for sellers, listing agents must disclose to sellers and obtain approval for any payment or offer of payment that the listing broker or the seller is making to another broker, agent, or other representative, like a real estate attorney acting for buyers. As of right now, the California contract we have actually has this in there, that if you are giving a commission from the commission you're receiving as an agent, it's in there, says how much it is. That is a requirement going forward, that all places throughout the United States, they have to get permission from the seller to give that to the other side, to the buyer's agent, if they're going to offer that, and the amount has to be determined and approved by the seller. Number 9 says that you must disclose to prospective sellers and buyers in conspicuous language that commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. Again, another example here where the California Association of Realtors residential listing agreement is very clear, has specific language in bold and large letters that states this. That is a requirement across the nation now. Number 10, realtors and MLS participants cannot filter MLS listings that they give to their customers based on the existence or level of compensation. So there isn't a field anymore based on this settlement that an agent could use to filter it out. But an example here would be if the buyer's agent calls a listing agent says, nope, seller's not paying anything. The buyer's agent can't filter that listing out and not send it to their buyer because there isn't a commission that's going to be offered to that buyer's agent. 11, change the rules so that they match the settlement. 12, educational materials that are consistent with these rules. Number 13 is a big one. I guess the headline writers didn't get to hear, but what it says is that this settlement agreement does not prevent a seller from offering a buyer broker compensation. It just can't be on the MLS. It can be anywhere else but the multiple listing service. So sellers can absolutely still pay buyers brokers agent fees. It also doesn't prevent a seller from offering bonuses to a buyer to buy their home, whether it's credits for closing costs, a brand new car, tickets on a cruise. Those things can still be offered through the MLS to a buyer. There's all the changes, and this is an interesting one as well, that the changes in here will terminate 7 years after the class action notice date. So don't think that these are permanent changes according to the settlement right now. They're going to be in place for 7 years and then all bets are off. Maybe they go back into place or maybe something new comes. Thanks for sticking around to the end. We're going to run through a few side effects of this settlement. And this isn't your typical list of realtors yelling at the sky wondering why things have to change. Change isn't necessarily bad, but let's talk about what this means. And this isn't a list you're going to find in many other places. Number 1, as we've shown you, it doesn't say anything about a standard real estate commission of 6% or 5% or 4% changing. A seller is still able to pay whatever they feel like their listing agent is worth and can still pay the buyer's agent fee. So what can happen is if there are many sellers in your local market who ultimately decide not to pay a commission to that agent for the buyer, If you do offer that commission, it'll be like selling water in the desert. Your listing is going to stand out far more as a seller. So while this attempts to reduce steering in the marketplace, and by steering we mean agents not showing listings that don't offer compensation, all it will do is attract more agents to those that actually do offer compensation. So smart sellers are going to take advantage of this and make sure they continue to pay buyers, agents, and ultimately have more competition from buyers and net more money. Number two, and you're not going to hear this one anywhere else, but open houses could be much more important than they've ever been in the past. And this assumes that there isn't a written agreement needed by the agent holding the house open by everybody who walks through. Maybe they will. During coronavirus in California, we had the PED form, and you had to get one from anybody, even coming through in an open house if you did one. So if a written agreement is not required for open houses, many buyers, before they sign up with an agent, sign that written agreement with a buyer's agent, they're just going to go to open houses, much more than we see now. So you could see this being one of the most important tools where buyers who aren't yet ready to commit to a particular buyer's agent want to see a property, so they go ahead and go to open houses. So as a savvy seller, you're going to want to make sure that you have open houses listed as a valuable marketing tactic for a home you're selling. This change will not affect all socioeconomic levels the same. So some sellers will agree to pay those fees for buyer's agents and some won't. In the event that a buyer does not have the money to pay a buyer's agent or even pay an attorney to review documents at more of a discount, as some people have said is the solution, these buyers may decide to move forward without representation and all the repercussions that come from that, or may decide that they're not going to buy. So that is going to be an issue for folks who can't afford representation, and unfortunately, again, will not affect all socioeconomic statuses. It's not too crazy to extrapolate and see that at certain price points, there would be less competition because buyers can't afford the representation, and a sophisticated corporate buyer who can afford to buy without any sort of seller paid fees could step in and buy those homes. So you could see an increase of corporate buyers, who everybody's accusing of buying up all the homes across America, stepping in and buying homes in these price points because they don't need the fees to buy. So this is an unfortunate possible side effect of the change in the regulations. Pros and cons of the National Association of Realtors settlement. Let me know in the comments below. I want your opinion. Make sure you're subscribed to our free weekly email newsletter. We're going to get you updates to this and a whole lot more. Oh, and the next thing you need to know is in this video right here. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we can't wait to hear from you.